Welcome to our virtual author event with Valerie Bolling, whose latest children's book is an early reader and the first in a series from Scholastic, Rainbow Days, The Gray Day. Isn't that nice? That's a good cover. Yes. In this story, we're introduced to a little girl named Zoya who loves to make art with her puppy Coco. It's a perfect day to paint outside until it begins to rain. Zoya and Coco rush back inside with their art supplies. They aren't sure what to do at first, but then together, and with a splash of glitter, of course, they find some creative ways to brighten the gray day after all. Before we have Valerie read you a little part from her story, let me tell you something about her. Valerie Bolling is passionate about creating stories in which all children can see themselves and feel seen and heard, valued and validated. She's the author of 5 picture books, and we have some of them here. Let's Dance, which we highlighted, oh gosh, here at the Book Bungalow a few years ago, before COVID. Certainly.
It was during, actually, Tanya, it was
Was it?
2020. Yes, and
Okay.
right at the beginning.
Okay. All right. Together We Ride, and she has got one coming out called Together We Swim. Isn't that right?
And I happen to have a copy of that one, just one.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'll hold that up.
All right. Ride, Roll, Run, Time for Fun. And I don't have a copy of Bing Bop Bam, Time to Jam.
Nor do I.
Okay. And she's written all those as well as Rainbow Days, which is a Scholastic Acorn early reader series, just the start of the series. And if you want to order any of these books from us, either in the store or through our website, Valerie's going to be sending us some signed book plates soon, and we'll make sure you get one with your purchase. Even if we have to ship your book across the country to you, we'll send you the book plate separately. I'm going to be putting the link for our order, our event page on this, which has, if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see each of the books and you can order there. I'll be putting that in the chat while she's reading later. A graduate of Tufts University and Columbia University, Teachers College, Valerie has been an educator for 30 years and is an active member of the KidLit community, teaching picture book classes independently and for the Highlights Foundation. We're going to ask her a little about that later. Serving as a mentor and presenting at conferences. Valerie lives in Connecticut with her husband, where they enjoy traveling, hiking, reading, going to the theater, and dancing, of course. If you want to learn more about Valerie and her work, I'm going to put, well, she's already put a link. Well, that's for events. I'm going to put a link to her website in the chat room. I'm not sure if that was there or not. Now, Valerie, why don't you go ahead and read us the story, and then we'll talk about this book and your other works. If any of you who are listening want to ask Valerie any questions, you can put them in the Q&A, or if you're watching this on our YouTube channel later, you can probably contact her through her website and ask her questions. So go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And it's so good to be back here with you because we met during the COVID shutdown. You were one of the few bookstores who had pivoted to virtual events, and you and I connected, and it was just so wonderful. So I'm so happy to be back here, and a lot has happened in 3 years. One of the things, of course, is that I have more books out, so I'm very grateful for that. So one of the things you should know about the Acorn series is that there are 3 stories in each book. And the idea is that the young reader, newly independent reader, ages 4 to 7, can pick up the book and start with whichever story he, she, or they want. So I decided, since that's the case, I'm actually going to start, or I'm going to share with you today, the second story. So in the first story, Zoya and Coco go outside to paint, and as Tanya told you, it starts to rain. So story 2 is when they come inside. So that's the one that I'm going to read to you, and it is called Rain, as you can see.
Mhm.
I want to make a bright painting, but all I see outside is gray. I listen to the raindrops tap on my window. I hear thunder. The thunder sounds like a drum. Boom, boom. I don't want to paint the rainy sky. What can I draw that's gray? Oh, I know. Gray is black and white. I kiss Coco's black nose. I rub his white belly. Black is like the sky at night. I like to see the moon smile at me. I think of other things I like that are black. My dress shoes, Teddy's button eyes. Daddy's beard is black. It tickles me when he gives me a kiss. White is like the snow. It's fun to make snow angels in my yard. I think of other things I like that are white. Fairy wings, seashells at the beach. Dandelions are white. I blow them to make wishes. Coco wags his tail on one painting. It makes gray swirls. I like it. My paintings need one more thing. Swish! Glitter makes them sparkle. To actually, and that is the end of Rain. And then you can see the next chapter, or the next story, it's not really a chapter, is called Leaves. So first of all, I should have given a shout out to the amazing illustrator, Kai Robinson. Kai's illustrations, as you can see, are so wonderful. As one of my friend said that she loves the way Kai has drawn Zoya's expressions, that she just, Zoya's got these little looks, and that's thanks to Kai. So she's a fabulous, fabulous illustrator. And shout out to our editor, Katie Carella. And as Tanya told you, this is a Scholastic Acorn book. Thank you
That's,
very much for listening.
oh, that's great. Um, I um, I wanted to know, first of all, if this story was based on a child you know, or the child you used to be, or just a child in your imagination. If you could tell.
Sure. So it's kind of a combination. I was a child who loved art. Now, as an adult writing books for children, I'm not the one who illustrates them, But I really loved art as a child, and I would make a lot of projects. I would make things out of paper mache at home, just, on a random day, mix some flour and water together and decide to do something with paper mache. I enjoy drawing and painting. So I definitely uh, was artistic. But Zoya is really based on my two nieces, and even her name comes from them because one of my nieces, my older niece, is Zora, and my younger niece is Anya. So that's why I combined the names to get Zoya. And Anya, in particular, is really into art. She will tell you that she's an artist. She will tell you that she wants to go to college for art. And Zora, on the other hand, is a real writer, and she's actually won awards for her writing. The girls are now, they both had birthdays in the spring, so they're now 11 and 9. So I thought it would just be fun to write about a girl who loves art, and I decided to put a puppy in there because most kids love puppies. So that was the inspiration for the character and for the series.
And how did they like the book?
Very much. They saw, very early manuscripts. They read through them. I had them read the stories aloud, and they really liked them. So that's good.
That's wonderful. You were into art as a child. Are you still into art?
I love going to museums. I appreciate art, but I don't really do my own art. I don't particularly draw and so forth. I did actually, a friend of mine a couple of years ago, I think it was beginning of 2021. Was it? I think that's when it was. It was a couple of years ago, but we made vision. Actually, it was the beginning of 2020 because it was before the shutdown. I mean, that's the way we remember things these days, right? It's so odd because I'm remembering now something that happened. She had a personal event in 2019. And so she really wanted to start off 2020 in a special way. And she invited some of us over to create vision boards. And so we had all sorts of, materials, fabrics, and colored papers and magazines and so forth. And so I did create a vision board. So I will, if I'm put in a situation, do something artistic. But right now, I guess the way that I'm most artistic is with my words.
Yeah. Did you keep your vision board?
I do have it, and if it was nearby, I would get it, but I'm not going to run to the other room and come back.
Okay, that's
It's too
okay.
bad, yeah. Maybe I'll take a picture of it and we can put it in the link.
Oh, that'd be cool. Did you intend when you first had the concept for this book, did you intend this to be a standalone picture book, or did you have a series in mind all along?
That's a great question, Tanya. This was a different sort of situation, meaning that I knew from the very start that this was going to be not only a series, but I wrote this specifically for Scholastic. I had met the editor, Katie Carella, virtually at a meeting. I'm a member of, as you said in my bio, I'm immersed in the Kidlit community. I'm a member of many groups. And one of my groups is Black Creators. At the time, it was Black Creators in Kidlit. It's now Black Creators Headquarters because a number of the writers write for adults, write beyond Kidlit. But at that time, it was very focused on Kidlit during the COVID shutdown. I have a feeling I'm going to keep saying that today during this conversation because, again, it just provides context. And Katie had come to the group and had talked about Scholastic Acorn and Branches. And at the time, I thought, that could be interesting. I wonder if I'd like to write an early reader. And then later that year, so Katie came probably in these, I want to say sometime in the spring or early summer. And then later that year in the fall, Scholastic put out a call saying they wanted BIPOC authors writing books about with BIPOC characters. So not anthropomorphic characters, but they specifically wanted BIPOC writing BIPOC. And so I thought about it, and it was actually my mentor, Kelly Starling Lyons, who's amazing. And I was thinking, oh, I was agented by that point, and I knew that I had the option to submit at any time. But Kelly said, Valerie, if they're looking for this now and you have an idea and you could write something, yes, exactly. Go ahead and do it. And when I told my agent, he was totally on board with it. So I wrote it specifically for that. I wrote all three books at once, even though when you submit them, James submitted just the first book, which I read from, and then he submits the proposals for the other two. So that was, yeah, so that's how the series was acquired.
Oh, cool. Okay. Um, you put in the story, you put an obstacle, in this case, rain, into your story, forcing Zoya and the puppy back indoors. I wondered how much of this story was inspired by the pandemic, since when so many kids and parents and teachers, for that matter, had to stay inside and think up things to do to keep from getting bored. And in the case of teachers, think up ways to reach these kids through Zoom, So how much of this story was inspired by that, or did that even cross your mind?
Yeah. So again, when we go back to the timeline and the context, the call was in fall of 2020.
Hmm.
And so I whipped up, I don't know how I did it so quickly, probably because it's early reader. So it's few words and short sentences. So I think I submitted it to James in October, and he gave me a bit of feedback. And fortunately, there wasn't much that he thought I needed to change. He sent it to Katie in November, which of course the holidays are coming, right? So, but she got back to us in January with interest. I did have to do a little R&R, revise and resubmit, just to fit more in line with the series, because again, as I told you, each of the stories needs to be a standalone. So I did that. But anyhow, so the pandemic and the COVID shutdown was not anything at all that I had even thought about, because it hadn't happened yet. It didn't happen until later that year. So I heard from, so I must have written it. It was yeah, so I must have, right, now I'm confusing myself. So if I wrote it, I said fall of 2020, but
The pandemic
yeah,
started in 2020.
yeah. See, now I'm confusing myself. But it was definitely, I know it was before, we weren't in the no, actually we must have been. So wow, I'm really making a fool of myself. So yes, if it was fall of 2020, yes, the shutdown had occurred because it occurred that spring. So maybe it did, but it wasn't necessarily, I don't think it was at the forefront of my mind, but I think I was more thinking about, kids have these plans and they go outside and then weather changes. So like right now, we're experiencing here a lot of smoke
Oh, yeah.
from the fires in Canada, and we're being told to stay inside. And the schools, their kids are not going out for recess, and the sports activities and all of that have been canceled. So there is something real about that.
Well, that's true. I hadn't even
Yeah.
thought about that. Uh, d- when you say early readers, does that mostly depends on not necessarily their age, but their reading level? What age is
Right.
this geared for? What ages?
So sorry to interrupt. The way that Scholastic talks about it is that the Acorn series, which Rainbow Days is for ages 4 to 7. It's for the newly emergent independent reader. The Branches series, there's not a significant difference, but it's in terms of age, it's ages 5 to 8. So that's for kids who are a little more advanced. That might be even a little more chapter driven, but again, I don't write for Branches, and that wasn't what I studied carefully because I just knew I really wanted to grab those kids immediately who are just beginning to read.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Uh, How many books in the series about Zoya have you are there only 3 books?
So currently there are the 3 books that are published or will be published. So the one I just read from came out last month in May. Book 2, which is called The Gold Bowl, will come out at the beginning of September, September 5th. And then the third in the series, The Orange Wall, will be released in March. So, March of next year. As is true in the publishing world, Tanya, I would love to have the series continue. And I believe Katie and Scholastic would love to see it continued as well, but it depends on sales.
Yeah, it does.
So I have actually written, because I like to be ahead of the game, I've written the next 3 in the series.
Okay.
So I'm ready if they want more. And I actually even have plans like notes for 3 beyond that.
Well,
And I
cool.
stopped myself there because I said, I don't want to keep going on and on because this may not continue. And that's a lot of time and energy and thought on something that may not happen. But I do like to be at least one step ahead. So we'll see. I hope it does incredibly well. Scholastic is in all the schools, it's got a good reach. And so I just hope kids love Zoya and Coco.
Have you already done some school visits with this?
No, so I'm looking forward to that next year. You mentioned that I've been an educator for 30 years, so this is my final year in education in my school system. But I'm looking forward to continuing to educate through my books and being in schools across, not only across my state, but across the country. So I have not had the opportunity to share Rainbow Days with students.
Okay. I wanted to, at the very beginning, I showed some of your other books, and I want to do that again.
Sure.
Because I wanted to talk about your progression as a writer. Since you wrote your first picture book, Let's Dance, and then Ride, Roll, Run. Time to
Actually, Together We Ride came out second, then Ride, Roll,
Oh,
Run.
okay.
Yep,
I'm wrong.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Together We Ride.
Yeah, but they both came out the same. They both came out last year.
Okay.
Together We Ride came out in April, right? And I'm holding up the wrong one too. It's a nice problem to have, right?
Yes.
Ride, Roll, Run came out in October.
Okay. So, have you changed as a writer? And have your goals in writing changed at all?
That's interesting, Tanya. I think I have changed. I still want to write the kinds of books that are currently out, and I do have some others that I've written that are these short, rhyming, joyful, fun texts. But I also have some books that are not at all this style. They're picture books as well. And one I can talk about because it has been announced. And then I'll tell you about the others once the recording has stopped, because I would love to share with you. So I have a book coming out. Currently, it is slated for next year, called I See Color. And it is a co-authored book with Kaylee Pugh, and the illustrator is Laylee Frazier. And it is a book that turns on its head the phrase, oh, I don't see color, right? So we call it I See Color, and we describe people by the color of their skin, and also celebrate and showcase their social justice acts. So that's a very different sort of book.
Yeah.
Um, I recently sold a book in September and one in April that, again, without giving too much away, I would say are more in line with that type of book than the books that are currently published. And I have a book that I just shared with my agent, and we had a conversation on Monday, and he's very excited about it. And we're looking to go out with that at the end of the summer, because we have to have these other two sort of settle and figure out pub dates and things like that. And that book too is more in line with I See Color. So I
What
am changing.
what age groups are they still geared to? uh Kindergarten through second or third?
Yeah, so because they're picture books, I mean, the thing about my current books is they really, I mean, you can read them to a baby, right? You can read them to a 1, 2, 3-year-old. These other books, I would say, are for a little older, but because they're picture books, I would say early elementary. I think you could probably read them to kindergarten students, certainly first, second grade, third. I would say yes, that's probably more who they're geared toward. I also am dabbling just at the beginning stages. I'm dabbling in board books,
Oh,
and I'm dabbling in early chapter book.
oh,
So
cool.
yeah, so I want to diversify.
No,
I don't see doing young adult. Maybe in a couple of years I can gear up for middle grade. But I have a lot of things just going on, as you can see now, with picture books. And if I am fortunate enough to continue the Rainbow Day series, then, that will create some work for me as well.
well, that's great. Well, okay, finally, do you have, is there anything else going on that you're doing that you want to share with us?
Sure. So one of the things, and you mentioned in my, as you were reading my bio, that I teach classes. So I teach picture book classes. And if anyone is interested, please email me, or if you're on social media, you can direct message me. If you direct message me on Twitter, I will probably see it. I will see it there. If you direct message me on Instagram, it may take a while, but you may email me through the contact page on my website. I just started last night, or today is Thursday, so Tuesday night, my summer session. But then I do 6-week sessions each quarter or each season. You can look at it that way. So people will be able to sign up for the fall if they're interested. I also have the privilege, and I'm so pleased that I am a faculty member for the Highlights Foundation. And I actually have a class next week, so you can still sign up for it, about picture book beginnings and endings. And it's 2 nights. It is Monday night and Wednesday night of next week, so June 12th and 14th. And it's from 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 8:15. So there's an hour of instruction, and also a little bit of you being able to dabble and use what you learned, apply it to your own writing. Or either something you have current or something you're about to begin, and then there'll be 15 minutes for questions. And then I'm also a faculty member in the Highlight Summer Camp for Fiction. And that is on campus in Milledgeville, Pennsylvania, July 7th to 11th. And if you say, well, I don't know if I really want to do fiction, they have summer camp in nonfiction, summer camp in historical fiction, and summer camp in illustration. So please look into that.
Is that where the Highlights headquarters is?
Yes.
Pennsylvania?
Yep. Highlights Foundation.
And she has put the links to these in the chat. So if you're interested in either of those, you might want to click on one of those links. I don't know which one you put first.
I think I did Picture Book Beginnings and Endings first, because that one happens first.
Yeah.
So I wanted people to see that one first. That's next week, so you would need to sign up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and if you're in the Rocky Mountain area, it would be 5 o'clock.
Thank you. Yes, for doing the time translation. And then the other thing I would just alert people to, Tanya, is that I have a number of events coming up. I'll be at other bookstores, some in person in my area. And I'll be at a number of book festivals this fall. I actually even have one at the end of this month. So you can just check out the events page on my website if you're interested in any of that, particularly if you live near me or you're going to be in this area. I don't know, actually, I will be virtually at the Boston Library in July, next month. So I know that's another virtual opportunity, but certainly a lot of people, as we know, are pivoting more to in-person.
Yeah.
So, but I will be in Maryland, I will be in Montana, in person at bookstores. Well, actually, Montana is a library, and Baltimore is a bookstore. So I might be in your area. So check out my website, and I'd love to meet you.
You are a very busy woman.
You know what? So I'm going to give you a tip, and this is for the authors and the illustrators. If they like doing visits, attach a visit to visiting a friend. So now when I visit friends, I try to connect with a library or a bookstore when I'm there. If I go and visit a friend when school's in session, I'll try to connect with the school. But since these are during the summer, I don't have that option.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we have time for today. We want to thank Valerie and our listeners for joining us today. Remember, you can order this book and any of her others through our website or at the store cash counter. And we will have signed book plates to send you as well as soon as I get them. I put that link in the chat, and you can scroll down to see and select the books you want. And once we get this recording uploaded to our YouTube channel, I will send you the link, all those who registered, to that as well. I want to thank everyone, and we hope you have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Goodbye.